The Sopranos premiered on HBO on January 10th, 1999. By the time it ended in 2007, it had won 21 Emmy Awards, redefined what a television anti-hero could be, and permanently altered what the medium was allowed to do. It didn't just make great TV, it made every great TV show that came after it possible. The Wire, Breaking Bad, Mad Men, Succession. You can draw a straight line from every prestige drama of the last 25 years directly back to that first HBO Sunday night in January 1999. The Sopranos broke the door down. Everything else walked through it. And the reason it worked, the single load-bearing structural reason the whole thing didn't collapse, is Tony Soprano. Not the writing, though the writing was extraordinary. Not the direction, not the setting, or the score, or HBO's willingness to go places broadcast television couldn't go. All of that mattered, but all of it was in service of one character, one man, a guy from New Jersey who sweated through his shirts, cried in a psychiatrist's office twice a week, and could order someone's murder with the same expression he used when he was proud of his daughter. If that man is wrong, nothing else in the show works. The therapy scenes become pretentious, the violence becomes cartoonish, the family dinner scenes become parody. The entire architecture of the show is built on the audience believing in Tony Soprano. And believing in Tony Soprano means believing in whoever is playing him. The show that almost aired had the wrong man in that role. And the show that did air, the one that changed everything, came down to a single audition that almost didn't happen. David Chase had been living with this character for years before anyone agreed to make the show. He'd written the pilot. He knew who Tony was. He had a specific, non-negotiable idea of what Tony Soprano needed to feel like. And that idea was fundamentally incompatible with what Hollywood thought a mob boss should look like. The network had opinions. Studios always have opinions, especially when the creative direction is unconventional. And the creative direction here was unconventional in a very specific way. Chase wasn't writing a gangster. He was writing a man who happened to be a gangster. A man with a mother he couldn't please, a marriage he couldn't sustain, a body that was betraying him, and an interior life so complex it required professional intervention twice a week just to keep him functional. That character requires a specific kind of actor. Not the most famous actor, not the most intimidating one, the right one. And the right one was not the name that kept coming up in early conversations. Ray Liotta was the obvious choice. That's exactly what made him the wrong one. Liotta had done Goodfellas 9 years earlier. Henry Hill was one of the most charismatic, electric performances in American cinema. Audiences loved him. The industry respected him. He was recognizable, proven, and had clearly demonstrated he could do mob. From a pure casting logic standpoint, he made complete sense. But Goodfellas was the problem, not the credential. Henry Hill is stylish. He's cinematic. He moves through the frame like someone who knows the camera is there. He's the cool version of the mob life, the version that makes it seductive, that makes the audience want to be inside it. And Tony Soprano was specifically, deliberately designed to not be that. The moment you cast Ray Liotta, the audience brings Henry Hill into the room with them. They're not watching Tony Soprano. They're watching Liotta doing a different version of something they've already seen. The whole point of the character, this new, uncomfortable, psychologically real version of what organized crime actually produces in a man, collapses under the weight of that existing association. David Chase wasn't making Goodfellas for television. He was making something that would argue against the myth Goodfellas had helped create. The casting choice was, in that sense, a creative statement. Who played Tony Soprano would determine what the show was saying about men like Tony Soprano. Michael Madsen was considered intimidating, physically imposing. He would have played the menace perfectly and missed everything else. Anthony LaPaglia was a serious contender. Reportedly, Chase's preference for a period of time. LaPaglia is a genuinely exceptional actor. He would have brought intelligence and real humanity to the role. He would have been good. Good was not enough. What the role required was something beyond competence, beyond technique, something specific to one person that couldn't be manufactured or approximated. Tony Soprano is written with such precise internal contradictions. Sadness and violence, tenderness and cruelty, humor and menace, all of it simultaneously present, that the character demands an actor whose natural register contains all of those things at once, without any visible effort holding them together. That is a description of James Gandolfini. Gandolfini was not famous when he walked into that audition room. He'd done supporting work in a handful of Hollywood films, small parts, supporting credits. The role that mattered the one that showed what he was actually capable of, was a small part in Tony Scott's True Romance in 1993. He played Virgil, a hitman, on screen for maybe 12 minutes. In those 12 minutes, Virgil beats Alabama, played by Patricia Arquette, across an entire hotel room. It is a brutal, uncomfortable, difficult scene to watch. And the reason it's difficult to watch is not the violence itself, it's the intimacy of it. Gandolfini doesn't play the scene cinematically. He doesn't make it look like a movie fight. He plays it like a real man doing a real job. There is a terrible specificity to every moment of it, a mundane quality that makes the violence feel genuinely possible in a way that most film violence doesn't. That quality, that absolute refusal to aestheticize, is what casting directors Sheila Jaffe and Georgianne Walken recognized when Gandolfini walked into the room for The Sopranos. He was overweight, he was slightly rumpled, he had a face that was warm until it wasn't, and you could not catch the moment it changed. One beat, he looked like someone you'd talk to at a backyard barbecue. The next beat, he looked like someone you'd cross the street to avoid. The transition was invisible, completely invisible. That was the thing. You couldn't see it happening. You just saw what was on the other side of it. That specific quality, the invisible transition, is what makes Tony Soprano terrifying. Not that he's violent, not that he's powerful, that you can never read which version of him you're looking at until it's already too late. That quality is not writable. You can gesture toward it on the page. Gandolfini had it in his face, naturally, constantly, without trying. The executives understood star power. They understood how networks sold shows and how audiences found them. What they were slower to understand was what hiring a recognizable star would have cost the character. Chase's argument, and it was an argument he had to make, was this: if the audience already knows who this actor is, they are not watching Tony Soprano. They are watching a performance of Tony Soprano. They are bringing everything they already associate with that actor into the room. The character cannot be fully real under those conditions. And if Tony Soprano is not fully real, the entire show is built on nothing. The distinction sounds subtle. It isn't. It's the entire show. Chase held the line. There is a moment that has been described by people who were in the room, described the same way by different people on different occasions, which tends to mean it's true, where Gandolfini finished reading a scene and nobody spoke. Not industry meeting quiet, not polite quiet. The specific quiet of a room where something has just happened that nobody wants to be the first to interrupt. Chase knew. He had known what Tony Soprano was supposed to feel like for years. He'd been writing toward this character, and when Gandolfini finished, it was simple. That was it. That was Tony. The network saw the tape. They came around. Not because Chase won an argument with logic, but because the tape made the argument for him. Seeing it was the only logic needed. You either felt it or you didn't. The people in the room felt it. The Sopranos premiered in January 1999 and arrived already knowing exactly what it was. Gandolfini's performance in the pilot, the ducks, the therapy, the dinner table, the parking garage, was recognized immediately by critics and audiences both as something that had not been done before. Not on television, not anywhere. By the end of season 1, the show was a phenomenon. By the time it ended 6 seasons later, James Gandolfini was considered one of the greatest actors who had ever worked in any medium. Tony Soprano became the template. Every complex anti-hero who came after him, Walter White, Don Draper, Logan Roy, was measured against what Gandolfini built in that role. He built it because nobody else would have built it the same way. Ray Liotta would have made a great mob boss, dangerous, watchable. You would not have called it the greatest show ever made. Anthony LaPaglia would have made a human one, thoughtful, genuinely compelling. Something would have been missing and you would have spent years unable to name what. The specific Tony Soprano that changed television, the one who cried about ducks and then had someone killed, and who made you understand on some level how both of those things could be true of the same person at the same time, was only ever going to be James Gandolfini. And David Chase knew that before anyone else in the room did. Most things this good almost don't happen. It's worth knowing how close we came.